Nobody's used the DVB option. Have you? DVB option. I want you to learn that, okay? That is a very, very important option. Each buyer at the state of California level, if those contract amounts are under the amounts I just stated, if they can find just 2 DVBE businesses, they don't even have to put the requirement out on the street. They just go to you and say, bid it. Winning bidder wins the job. No, that is a relationship opportunity. That's talking because you know your core customer. So how many of you want to do business with veteran homes? Okay, guess what? Guess who's here today? Veteran homes. All the CalVet, all the state of California Veterans Affairs are here. And they have influence over all of the procurement for both medical supplies, construction, at all of their veteran homes. Okay? So that's somebody you need to meet. That guy's Robert Beaver, who's here, and I think he's on the backside here. Okay? So that's how you do that. You build relationships with them, and you say, would you be interested in putting this out for a DVBE option? Those words should come off the tip of your tongue like it's your favorite, dessert or whatever. I mean, it should be really music to your ears. It's also music to their ears, and why? Why do you think?
It's easier for them to do their job, and they're lazy.
It's easy. Well, I'm not going to say they're lazy. They have a lot of work to do, and you have just made their job easier. Isn't that music to their ears? Give them the option of going with a DVBE. Now, sometimes what you have to do is you have to say, hey, I know another DVBE that could bid with us. And then they'll have to vet them and everything, but they may not always be able to find them. So find them a couple others. Or talk to a company like ours, or talk to Elite SDVOB, who's here today, the network of which I'm a part of. Or the DVBE Alliance. Talk to the other veterans and get the veterans to respond. The more we respond, the more work we're going to get. Okay? Now, finally, let's get down to CPUC, which is primarily why we're here today. As a DVBE, you are automatically certified by the California Public Utilities Commission because that is a state agency. DGS does their certification, and for those who've gone through the process, you have been vetted. So you are now ready to market to any CPUC agency. And there are, I don't even know, do you know how many are? I don't know. I'll take a guess, 50 or 60, let's just say. So there are 50 or 60 agencies who recognize your DVBE. And they are not meeting their DVBE goals, for the most part. So that is not your sales point, but that is your door opener. It gives you an opportunity to present your business. So now you have to do everything we're going to spend the next 20 minutes on. Okay? Any questions so far through the first part of the business, the corporate, the certification arms? Any questions there? Yes, sir. Nice and loud, please.
Sure. When we have our matchmaking opportunity, should the 3C1 piece be part of our elevator pitch?
Absolutely. We're going to talk about that here right now. We're going to spend the rest of the time on that. It's a good question. It's almost like a leading question, isn't it? Let's see what the next slide is. Oh. Did everybody understand the importance of networking? Okay? Networking is to do what? This is really, really important here. Networking is to do what? Everybody should say this. Build relationships, right? Because if you try and sell somebody during a networking event, what's going to happen? Yeah, you're probably... You know what I do? I take whatever they gave me and it goes right down there. I'm not really interested because I don't even know who they are. What I want to do is build a relationship with them and get permission to continue to talk to them. So I will always ask them, can I get 10 to 15 minutes of your time sometime next week at your convenience? Or something to that effect. And I want to keep building that relationship. That is critical. You've got to build a relationship. That's the purpose of networking. We ask you to bring a capability statement because, as you'll see, at some point in time during a matchmaking event, you're going to want to show them your capability statement. But I would never just throw it on the table unless they ask for it. Don't ever throw it on the table until they ask for it, okay? It's sort of your trump card. You want to keep building that relationship. Because if you're meeting with an agency, what have you learned today that you've already done? Well, yeah, besides showing up, that's good. Yeah, show up, certainly. What else have you done prior to showing up? We all learned this in the military. What do? Say it. You prepare for it. That means you better have gone on the website. You better have pulled the annual plan. You better know what their forecasts are, what they're going to be buying in the future. Because if you can say that to them, guess what you just did? Yeah, you just presented a solution to something that they know they're going to need in the future, or that they already have a need for. That is huge. So the more research that you've done prior to your actual face-to-face or meeting about who they are and what they're going to be buying, the better off you're going to be. So that's why it's so important to have that relationship. So I've gotten, as you know, many of you know, our company is designed around being really an interface for you. We're out there all the time. We're at conferences. We're talking to the supplier diversities. We're talking to the small business specialists. We're talking to the contracting specialists at all the bases. We're talking to the PEOs and the PCOs. And we're also talking to the program managers. And one of the things that happens there is they will let us know what's coming out that they're going to be buying. And that's what you need to do. That is the single greatest advantage that you can have. And you can't do anything, outside of that, but you can certainly, by knowing it's coming, guess what you get to do? Prepare for it, right? You get to prepare for it. So that's why when you see things coming out in a year from now, you can begin building your subcontract teams. You can begin filling in your gaps. If you do a gap analysis, for example, and what you're missing on a requirement that's coming out, okay? So it's huge. That pre-forecast, that pre-market research before you meet a specialist is going to be the difference between night and day. If I can wow a Karen Bowman, I'm going to get the chance to talk to her again. And that's really what I need to do. I really need to be continuing to talk to her, build my relationship, and then be able to then eventually market my companies in front of her, okay? Same thing would relate to all of you. That is critical. So it's all based on the relationship. All right, let's dive into this thing. Capability. What do you think capability is? Let's get this is good.
Ability to perform.
Okay, so it's an ability to perform. You're really saying that we have the ability to be able to do what you need done without telling you we do this, right? What you're doing is you are describing in a 1 to 2 sentence business description your core competencies. And in a nutshell, you are driving your core competencies as the door opener to being a solution provider to that entity, whatever it is, right? That's your capability. And capability goes so far as to really see that you've done a gap analysis on your own company. Now, the greatest single realization that we can all have is to understand that we can't do everything. Sometimes that's hard. It's hard to hear that, right? But we have to realize that. And if we're effective in realizing that, and we can fill the gaps, and we can fill them prior to meeting with the people we're going to meet with, then we now have, we gain additional respect from them, okay? So a capability statement is not only the basic core competencies, but it's all the ability to fill in the gaps. Yes, sir.
On the capability statement, is it necessary to follow the format that is available to the government?
Good question. So, format. You know, there really is no prescribed format other than making sure that you have these critical elements on there. Okay? And we actually have some that where we put pictures on them, showing them before and then after if it's relevant. If you're in construction, that's a great picture. We also show the core competencies where we actually list the services that we perform, okay? And then we have, and then we're going to prove it in our past performance. So the format is basically your creativity, but it needs to flow. And I'm recommending to you that it flows in this order: capability, capacity. Now the capacity is your ability to grow with a requirement, your ability to fund the requirement, your ability to bond for the requirement, your ability to be able to pull together a team for the requirement. Okay? So the capacity is your ability to grow to the requirement. In other words, you've already thought about it and it's part of your business plan. How we're going to be able to grow to that job, grow to that scope of work. So the capability is the ability to perform. The capacity is the ability to grow with the job. So one of the greatest things that I've also learned from AT&T, but also with some of the others that are here, SoCal Gas, Verizon, Southern California Edison, is that every one of them wants to see that you are financially sound. And that is a critical element of your capacity. Your financial books need to be in order. As a matter of fact, I'm hopeful we're going to go through an accounting process where we're going to have our books analyzed, and they're going to see that the financial capacity to do what we say we can do is present in the national team that we have. Okay? So for all of you, that's going to relate as well. So be sure that your financial house is in order. Because, as you remember going through certifications, every one of them asked for your books, right? They wanted your P&Ls, they wanted your taxes, they wanted everything, right? So it's got to be in order, so just remember that. The next one is one of my favorite, and that's called your credibility. Your credibility is what other people say about your business. How did you perform on a similar scope of work for another large entity?